We open with our protagonist and his party facing the Demon King. The dark elf named Bell tells our protagonist Hinata to finish him off, and he says, "Leave it to him," and jumps toward the Demon King, letting him know his reign ends here. Then the Demon King gets pissed, refusing to die by the hand of a guy who stopped sucking his mother's milk 2 weeks ago. But those extra proteins our boy got is the reason he became so strong and sliced through the Demon King like a block of butter. The girls from his party celebrated since they've finally taken down the Demon King. Then suddenly our boy doesn't feel so good as his body begins to fade. He explains that it's time for him to go home because he was summoned here for the purpose of defeating the Demon King. And once that's done, the world is at peace and it no longer needs a hero. Belle starts tearing up and asks about the promise they made that the two would get married after defeating the Demon King. Hinata gets confused since he never said such thing, and the other two come in and tell Belle to not put Hinata on the spot and send him off with a smile. Then Hinata tells her not to cry as he wipes the tears from her eyes. He tells her it may be sad that he's parting from everyone, but someday he'll return. Belle understands this, and as he says goodbye to all of them, Belle lets him know she'll find him and meet him again so he can put babies inside her. Hinata is back in the real world, and from fighting the literal-ass gaping Demon King, he's buying cabbage on sale. He's going to school like usual, and since most authors can't help but make these MCs parentless, his relative took him in. But after entering his new school, he started living on his own. He opens the door and enters his house, but suddenly a person charges at him while greeting him. And oh look, it's a bird, it's a plane, no. It's a pair of nuclear milk bombs. Belle falls onto him and starts suffocating the hero with a threat worse than the Demon King. Hinata pushes her away and tells her to calm down. But Belle has already been diagnosed with stage 4. "I don't give a fuck, just give me that cop." Hinata was able to calm her down and give her some clothes to wear. She explains that in order to land at the exact coordinate when teleporting to another world, it's better to be naked so they can concentrate more, and she also had to do it by herself, so she needed to conserve as much magic as she could. However, he asks if this is okay with her family and stuff. Belle lets him know it's fine, she already told her mom about it. Besides, finding him is her #1 priority, and she reveals that after defeating the Demon King, the world was yelling hip hip hooray and babies were backflipping and breakdancing. But to her, everything felt empty, and she has no interest in a world that doesn't have Hinata. Then she locks in and gets real Yandere, saying Hinata is all she ever wants. She added that he's all she needs, and not even the Demon King or the power of God in anime would be able to separate her from his side, and she promises to be by his side forever. Hinata starts looking around, getting confused, and realizes this love might be a little too overwhelming. Then Belle goes in to hug him, and she falls on his lap since she used a lot of her strength and magic to get here. So Hinata gave her some food to recharge her, and he's glad she seems to be enjoying human food, and he realizes it's been such a long time since they shared a table like this. He reveals that before he was sent to another world, he would eat with the spirits that haunt his place, but in the other world he would be sharing a table with the others. Now, if I was our protagonist, I would be cursing the god who sent me back to the real world. Then Hinata thanks Belle for coming to find him here since it made him really happy. He explains that he felt the same way Belle did after coming back to his world, but it was all blasted away by her milk cannons when he came home. Hinata starts getting emotional, but Belle puts her finger on his lips and tells him to not worry about it as she won't be going anywhere, and she reveals that she's actually moving in, and with a Yandere look, she tells him she'll just need to get him in the family way and he'll be hers. Then she gets into a formal sitting position and tells him she'll place herself under his care. However, Hinata starts laughing at her since it was so unexpected. So Belle silenced him and buried him deep in between her calcium pillows. Belle is now filled to the brim with our boy's delicious foods. And all that's left is to take a nice relaxing bath, which she invites him to join her. Then she gets close to him and asks him to please join her, claiming she doesn't know how to use the bath here. So in the end, he agrees to take one together. Belle walks into the shower, and this is where I go ultra instinct and complete this script with one hand. Hinata starts fighting against his thoughts to not take a look at her juicy cake and its intense jiggle physics. He sat her down and lets her know they'll start by washing her hair. He asks if the water's too hot, and that seat's having the greatest day of its life. Hinata realizes her hair is in perfect condition, despite her not treating it, And her skin is also smooth and crystal clear, and the way it sparkles reminds him of a full moon shining brightly in the sky on a starry night. Wow, looks like our boy really wants to get laid tonight. Belle gets embarrassed and says he's over-exaggerating it a bit much, and she adds that she would never let anyone touch them other than him, and lets him know how special he is to her. He starts making her feel real good by washing her hair and says that there are cosmetic stores for women, and suggests they check them out sometime. Belle agrees to do so as it sounds like fun, and tells him that spending time together like this really makes her feel like they've become an actual family. Then after she's done, she gets up and says it's her turn to wash him. Our boy saw the look in her eyes and instantly knew that washing won't be the only thing they'll be doing. Belle corners him, saying she's going to wash him clean and empty out every last drop Hinata's storing up. Then she captures him using her 2 Pokeballs, and it gets real unheavenly to the point our boy's knee gave out, and he fell to the floor all wet, looking like his mother just shot him out of her vagina. He begs for Belle's mercy, pleading not to empty his barrels, but she did the exact opposite of what he asked for, and she feels some sort of shaft rising up 12 o'clock. Hinata starts getting embarrassed, but he realized there's nothing he can do about it because he's just a chill guy who gets hard sometimes. But he backs down last moment and starts running away, saying he can't take it anymore. However, Belle tries to stop him, and in a cartoon fashion she pulls down his pants, causing him to slip, and plants his nose onto the bathroom wall. Now why did the author make our boy so ridiculously caked up he might even rival Belle? Hinata fell to the ground unconscious. When he wakes back up, he's greeted by Belle looking down on him. She apologizes for getting too carried away, but Hinata says it's not her fault since he wasn't paying attention to his surroundings. Then Belle tells him that she loves his hair too. She explains how soft and fluffy it is, and that it glows and feels warm just like the sun. Hinata starts blushing and she starts rubbing his head over and over. Our boy quickly gets up, saying he's fine now, but Belle pulls him back down in a split second, and says that he complimented her hair, saying it's similar to a full moon on a starry night. Then she explains that without the sun, the moon can't shine. And she's saying this to let him know that he can never ever leave her, and she wouldn't know what to do if he were to disappear again. Then we get a nice rear view of the shiny curves that would be riding our boy tonight. Belle lays down on the futon, and with an irresistible look, tells him to get in. The next morning, Hinata is woken up by being squished against Belle. It turns out her Yandere instinct had her rolled down from her bed while she was still asleep. He quickly wakes her up and she said good morning to him. Hinata tells her he'll make some breakfast and suggests she change her clothes. Hinata has gotten more used to living together with her, and he says goodbye to her as he now has to go to school. Belle gets bummed out knowing he's about to leave her all alone again, and asks if school's really that important. However, she would use this time to study more about this world, despite already knowing a bit about them before coming here. Hinata realizes Belle is massive in more than one way. Not only are her milk sacs huge, but so are her brains, as she's able to absorb information through TV in an instant, and in a short time has read more books than the amount of times I've touched books. Then, as Hinata is about to leave, he asks if she would like to try going out sometimes. He explains that it would be good for her to experience stuff firsthand, and he asks if she's perhaps still worried about the looks of others. However, she explains that she's used to it since it happens all the time. She continues saying elves can feel the flow of the souls and emotions of living beings. She explains that it's easy for elves to understand animals' emotions, but it gets complicated when it comes to humans, since they feel both positive and negative emotions from them. However, after traveling with him for a while, she's gotten pretty used to it, and wishes for just a little more time to get more used to this world before she starts going out. Hinata obviously respects her request and apologizes for trying to rush her. Then suddenly she hugs him, saying the flow of his is kind and warm, making her want to feel it all the time. Before he leaves, he lets her know that if he finds another book she might be able to learn from, he'll bring it home, and says goodbye to her as he heads to school. Belle waves goodbye to him with a smile on her face, and as the door closes behind him, she lets out a cheeky smile while letting out a suspicious laugh. Hinata starts looking for books, and he thinks if Belle were to go outside, she would be able to learn many more things. He walks to the front desk to borrow these books, and suddenly the girl behind the desk says his name. It's Mochida Sakura. She reminds him to return these books in a week, and she's surprised he's able to go through these books faster than reverse flash-jerking Barry off. But he lets her know these aren't for him, and nearly leaked the fact that it's for someone from another world. Mochida gets confused hearing him interrupt himself. Meanwhile, Belle is studying about schools, and she starts rolling around getting her panties soaked and ready to go for when Hinata comes home. Then she reaches for something in between her secret storage room and pulls out a specially made Hinata talisman. With this, she would be able to see what Hinata sees and knows exactly what he's doing. She kisses it, saying a good wife would always know what her husband is up to. And as she channels the talisman, the first thing she sees is not ideal for both her soul and this YouTube channel. It's literally a horror movie jump scare. But if their intention weren't to scare the shit out of you, but the erection out of you. Somehow Mochida has found a way for her foot to slip in an angle where she flew and plopped her ass cheeks on our boy's face. She apologizes for having him suck her fart and says that he's an amazing person, unlike her, who is nothing but a mess. Then she says, as a form of thank you, she would like to invite him somewhere if he wouldn't mind. But Hinata didn't even hear her out since he remembered there's a limited time sale at the grocery store today. He quickly dashes out of the library and tells Mochida he'll see her tomorrow. Mochida is stunned and fell into despair. Meanwhile, Belle is about to lose her shit. Hinata comes back home and apologizes for being late, and he's greeted by Belle walking up to him like she just crawled out of a TV screen. The door behind him locked itself, and he asks if something's wrong. Suddenly, she pins him against the door and asks who was that woman earlier. Hinata gets shocked and asks if she's perhaps referring to Mochida. Then he notices the talisman and is left stunned, but Belle lets him know it's love. However, that's not important right now, and she tells him she won't forgive Mochida for what she did, and she whispers out the word, school. Then she lets him know she too would be going to school and won't give him to anyone else. But she realizes she doesn't need to do all that, and could just turn the girls who get close to him to dust. And she tells him to not worry because she'll protect him. Belle has started attending the same school as Hinata. She introduces herself as Mary Belle, a being from another world. Everyone thinks she's cute and believe that that's some high-level cosplay. Hinata's happy she was able to enroll safely without needing to hold the school director's child hostage and have Centipede crawl into their ear. Then Belle tries to feed him and tells him to open wide. She explains that if she were to do this, no one would try to put their hands on him, but he suggests she make some friends in this world too. However, Belle doesn't care about all that because all she needs is him. Then Belle's arch-nemesis appears behind Hinata. She's here to talk to him about the books he borrowed the other day, and Hinata realizes it's the first time the two girls are meeting each other and introduces the two. Mochida says it's a pleasure to meet her, but Belle isn't wasting any time and attacks when her opponent least expects it and started squeezing her bakery. She tells Mochida that she knows she's using her juicy assets to have Hinata nut in his pants, and lets her know that Hinata is hers. Then she pulls out her magic, saying she won't forgive those who tries to get between her and Hinata. Now you gotta feel bad for Mochida, cause not only was she assaulted, but she's also about to get her face blown off. However, Hinata stops her and asks her to not do stuff like that, and says that he doesn't like it leaving Belle stunned. She tries to explain that she didn't mean it like that, and tells him to stop looking at her like that, and she starts running away feeling disappointed in herself. Hinata and Belle are at the rooftop, and she apologizes for earlier. She explains that her body started acting on its own whenever she thinks about how much she doesn't want him to be taken away from her, and says that that sort of look is the last thing she wants to see from him. Suddenly, the two are interrupted by another person coming to the rooftop and calling Belle's name. It's Mochida, and she has something to ask her. Belle is surprised to hear this, and would like to apologize before hearing her question, but Mochida interrupts her and asks if what she used earlier was magic. Belle starts blushing, and Mochida's eyes are glowing in excitement. So Belle tells her it is magic making her even more excited. Mochida reveals that she's a massive fantasy anime and manga fan. She has always thought about how awesome it is if magic were real. And in the morning when she saw her, she was surprised that elves are real, and complimented her, saying she's a really beautiful elf. Then, Mochida grabs onto her hands and asks if she would please be her friend. Belle is taken aback by all this. and remembers that back in her world, everyone would always avoid her for being a dark elf. She starts laughing and calls Mochida a weirdo, and she reaches out her hand, letting her know she can just call her Belle, and says it's nice to meet you, Sakura. Then happy friendship music starts playing as Mochida smiles, and the two shake hands. Mochida continues to ask, what is the other world like, and what other magic could she use, and what other beings are out there? Belle gets a little overwhelmed by this and started playing with Mochida's cheeks, and this time it's the holy cheeks, not the shit dumpster. They're all having PE class, and Hinata and Belle are sweating their tits off. Hinata asks if she's okay, and she explains that Mochida taught her how to play volleyball, and added that this world they learn lots of things at school, unlike the one back in her world. Then Mochida helps her back up, and promises her it'll be more fun once she gets used to it. Belle got back up and started playing more volleyball, but it seems like the ball is playing her instead as it keeps violating her. Mochida realizes Belle plays sports like she's a gamer who has never left their room since 3rd grade. Belle runs to Hinata in tears and asks, why does she have to do all this? Then he tells her it's great to see her making such hard effort to learn new things, and he really likes seeing her like that. After hearing this, Belle decides to lock in and tells him to not forget that promise. She got back onto the court and started playing again, and just hearing those words from him was enough for her to go plus ultra and get her form together. She started spiking down rockets onto the court, and Mochida's surprised she's suddenly able to get so good. So with a smile, Belle tells her that it's the power of love. Hinata is happy to see her smiling again, but Belle's not done, and suggests they keep going. She continues to crash down asteroids onto the court. However, her ankle gave itself anal as she landed. Hinata quickly runs to see if she's okay. She lets him know it's fine, but Hinata doesn't think that and tells her they've got to do first aid, so he quickly puts her on his back and carries her to the infirmary. He starts wrapping Belle's leg up, and she thanks him. Our boy apologizes for it looking kinda messy, as it's his first time, and he added that he doesn't want to see her getting hurt. After hearing this, Belle's nose begins to bleed, and she lets her intrusive thoughts win as she squeezes his face between her thighs. Please God, it should have been me. Belle tells him that she'll accept his love and she wouldn't mind what he do to her, which is why she wants him to look at her, and only her. Meanwhile, our boy's about to be knocked out and shoot out a destructive hollow white jizz through his pants. Belle says that she read a book earlier saying the pain would go away if he tells it to go away, so Hinata gets up and tells the pain to fuck off. However, Belle starts pouting and tells him to say it with all his heart. Then she starts screaming out in pain, saying her feet hurt so bad she can feel her body fading away. So Hinata tells her to calm down and is ready to lock in. Then our boy starts getting a little freaky as he gets his mouth a bit too close to her feet like he's about to kiss it. And even the man of God with willpower stronger than anime plot armor, our boy folded and got carried away as he not only ate her feet, but all the way to the thigh. Now our boy's about to go crazy as Belle tells him to do whatever he wants. But unfortunately, Mochida interrupts their sweet, wholesome, family-friendly time to let them know she brought her change of clothes. Mochida starts blushing, and Hinata doesn't know how to respond to this. Meanwhile, Belle is super bummed out, so Mochida quickly closes the door and excuses herself. Hinata is at a mall with Belle. The two decided to go shopping, and Belle's excited to see what plans he has for today. But he lets her know there are no plans, and they're only shopping for her daily needs. But Belle is still happy as long as she's alone with Hinata. However, Mochida appears and greets the two. Hinata apologizes for asking to meet her on her day off, and Belle starts twitching seeing her. She asks why is she here since the two were supposed to be on a date, so Hinata explains that she's here to assist her in her shopping arc. Belle understands and calms down after hearing this, and suggests they continue this shopping arc. They start off strong, and instantly head for the underwear store. Mochida tells Hinata to leave it to her and he can wait outside. Our boy starts panicking as he can't calm down, and just seeing these mannequins might make him act up. Then Belle runs out of the fitting room and asks if it looks funny. Hinata starts freaking out and asks her why is she dressed like that. So Belle took it off thinking he doesn't like it and will replace it with another one. Mochida quickly pulls her back to the room, and after the chaotic schlong drooling session in the store, they finally made their purchase and left the place. Belle hugs Hinata and lets him know that tonight she'll show him all the items she bought, The three continue their time at the mall, and even won a teddy bear from a crane machine, and it only cost them this entire month's rent. Belle says it was fun to see so many different things today, and she's grateful for it. Hinata gets up and excuses himself to the bathroom for a bit. Then Mochida asks Belle what's her relationship with Hinata. Belle says they're lovers and changes it to husband and wife, but she believes that those words aren't enough to convey the depth of their relationship, and she asks her, why did she ask all of a sudden? So Mochida says she was simply curious and believed that it must be destiny for the two to be together. Belle reveals that Hinata saved her in the past when she was attacked by humans. Back then she hated all humans, and even right now she still can't say she likes all of them. But when she saw Hinata for the first time, she climaxed and thinks that she was born to meet him. And until now, her feelings haven't changed, and it only grows stronger, which is why she's decided to never leave his side ever again and would follow him everywhere he goes. Mochida is surprised by her affection for him and says that she too will try to do her best. Belle wonders what she means by that, but Mochida says it's nothing, and Hinata comes back in time before she can continue her interrogation. Mochida waves goodbye to the two as they head off in a different direction. Belle is still a little bummed out over the fact that it wasn't just the two of them for today, so our boy grows a pair and some extra strands on his nipples and holds her hand. Belle is caught off guard by this, and he suggests they take a detour home today. He brings her to a park, and Belle finds it to be really beautiful. She asks why did he take her here all of a sudden, so he explains he was worried he might have pushed her a bit too much today, and she says that she's already quite used to this world and the people, but after all, for an elf like her, it's more comfortable to be surrounded by nature like this. Then she thanks him for it. However, Hinata begins apologizing, saying he wasn't thinking about her feelings and only thought of himself, and he goes in to give her a kiss on the cheek. He quickly apologizes for tasting her cheek all of a sudden and says he was just hoping they could stay together from now on. But Belle extends her hair and ties him up and pulls him closer to her. She tells him that that was nowhere near enough and asks for more. The two went silent as they begin to move their faces closer to each other. But before we could finally witness a romance manga, where it doesn't take 800 chapters and the hair on my balls to grow so long it drags along the floor for them to kiss, they're interrupted by some sort of attack blasting at their feet. The person says they finally meet again, and adds that the two still haven't changed. Hinata and Belle are surprised to see that it's Mai and Cecil, his two other former party members. Then one of them says that they're meant to bring someone back home and says, "Marry a Belle." Mai says it's been so long since they've met, and Hinata asks, how did they find their way to this world? The two say they'll tell him, but they have more important business to take care of. Meanwhile, Belle looks like she came out of a horror movie, saying it's unforgivable for them to interrupt such a beautiful moment. Cecil sighs after hearing this, and says that she didn't listen to what she was saying, like usual. Cecil and Belle has a face-off ready to throw hands, but Mai stops the two and suggests they take this business somewhere more private, because right now everyone's looking at them like there's some sort of play going on. Hinata agrees and says he knows a place. It's explained that Cecil is a priest in service to the high god of the other world, and Mai is a demi-human. Then Belle asks why in God's name did the two follow them here to Hinata's house, but Cecil lets her know it was Hinata's idea, and she asks Belle if she knows who started all this to begin with. She explains that the commotion she caused by entering another world without permission is monstrous, and it's like a whole battlefield in hell right now in the other world. She tells her that the existence of other worlds should be kept a secret since they don't know what impact would it bring to either of the worlds, and this is why they want to bring her back before something bad happens. And it's also why the state and church sent the two here. Mai apologizes because she'd love to support the two, but the situation is working against them, so Cecil tells Belle to come back peacefully, and she won't be punished since she played a part in defeating the Demon King. However, Belle said she won't, and they would need to amputate her arms or decapitate Hinata to bring her back, because these arms are locked up for life. Then she says that all she needs is Hinata, and would never leave his side even if the state or the world itself were to get involved. After hearing this, Cecil gets up and says she's left with no choice. She gives Belle her last warning, otherwise she would have to use force to bring her back. Belle gets up and reveals that she never liked her from the start since she's always pussy-blocking her. She asks if she hates dark elves that much. But Cecil denies the allegation and says she admires dark elves for having such high capabilities and a different perspective from mankind, and the majority of them hold a holy spirit that honors their bond with nature, but except for Belle, Cecil said. Belle starts losing it and says she may have a fat ass, but that doesn't mean she can go around shitting on people, so Cecil tells her to stuff those obnoxiously large, juicy honkers up her mouth and shut up for once. Meanwhile, Mai seems to be enjoying this fight between the two, and Hinata is struggling to stop them. Then Mai says that she don't think she can stop the two, but she whispers into his ears saying she knows someone who can stop it, though. Finally, Hinata puts on his adult diapers and asks the two to wait. He explains that he understands why the two came to this world, and also understands that Belle shouldn't be here. He tells them he was also confused when Belle first appeared here, but he's seen a lot of things with Belle, and there's been people who accepted her quite well, and more importantly, he was extremely happy to meet her after being all alone. So he promises to take responsibility if something bad were to happen and asks for them to wait a bit longer before making any decisions. Belle starts blushing after hearing this, and Mai asks Cecil what is she going to do. In the end, Cecil folded to the words of his and says she'll postpone the discussion for now, but lets them know that if something bad were to happen, they'll have to intervene, and she grants them permission to stay as they are for now. Then Hinata asks, where are the two headed? They say there's no reason for them to stay, however Hinata suggests they stick around a little longer since it's been a while since they've last met. They're happy to hear this, but explain that they can't stay in this world for too long. So the two said goodbye to him and left his apartment. Then Belle hugs him, and her clothes must have left with the other two because her bare chesticles are out. Hinata asks what is she doing, and she thanks him for protecting her, and hearing him say he wants to be by her side made her really happy. Hinata smiles and says the same goes for him. Then Belle gets real creepy again, asking if he's planning on taking their future seriously by saying he'll take responsibility, and after 5 panels of unholiness, she suggests they talk about their future nice and slow until sunrise. But we all know the only lips that'll be moving during this time would be Belle's lips, the lower one. The next morning, they're greeted by Cecil and Mai. The two let them know that they've moved into the room beside them. She reveals it's for the sake of protecting him and observing the situation close by.